What's up, Vetters? Patrick here with Vetted. Today we're talking about this.
Now, Daniel Sheehan has also shared, and this is even more explosive, that Luis Elizondo has informed him that he, in fact, has been in a facility where an actual extraterrestrial vehicle was stored.
All right, Vetters, please hit that like button. That really helps out the videos. And of course, if you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button. All right, so what's today's video about? Well, it's allegedly about a Navy base on the East Coast that is allegedly housing a UFO, and it has been since the 1950s, and people are finally calling it out. Let's look into it. Oh, and allegedly Luis Elizondo might be behind this story. So the Daily Mail released this article right here. Mysterious vehicle of unknown origin hidden at U.S. Navy base raises questions about secret UFO program. And let's learn a little bit more about this Navy base where allegedly this UFO is stored. Naval Air Station Patuxent River, also known as PAX River, is a United States Naval Air Station in St. Mary's County, Maryland, on the Chesapeake Bay. It is home to headquarters, Naval Air Systems Command, the U.S. Naval Test Pilot School, the Atlantic Test Range, and much more. It also serves as a center for test and evaluation and systems acquisition relating to naval aviation. It was commissioned on April 1st, 1943 on land largely acquired through eminent domain. The air station grew rapidly in response to World War II and continued to evolve through the Cold War to the present. All right, so let's check out this article. A mysterious UFO has been allegedly stored at a little-known U.S. Navy base on the East Coast for decades as the military continues to reverse engineer its secrets. A new report has claimed that Naval Air Station Patuxent River in Maryland, better known as PAX River, has kept an exotic vehicle of unknown origin secretly housed there, possibly since the 1950s. According to anonymous sources tied to Naval Air Systems Command, which is headquartered at PAX River, certain military programs at the base have been involved in analyzing and exploiting technology recovered from non-human craft for years. That's interesting, because Dr. Eric Davis has always said, we haven't reverse engineered anything, right? Jim Zlikatsky said the same thing, and he allegedly stepped inside a UFO. And as you're about to find out later in this video, there's a lot more connections here than you might think. So let's continue. Speaking to the Liberation Times, the unnamed sources claim that two types of aircraft have been trying to spy on what the U.S. has at PAX River. One is allegedly drones from China, and the other are non-human UFOs. Wait a second. So allegedly Chinese drones are trying to, spy on this UFO that we have, right? This alien spacecraft, vehicle of exotic origin. I mean, alien spacecraft, okay, right? And you also have non-human UFOs, which, first of all, UFO means unidentified flying object, but they're saying it's non-human. So they're saying alien spacecraft and Chinese drones are coming to spy on this. I mean, how ridiculous are these alien spacecraft that they're being spotted as easily as Chinese drones, right? Does this make any sense at all? According to the sources who spoke to Liberation Times, the U.S. government allegedly has a secret contingency plan for moving the unidentified craft if its specific location at PAX River becomes publicly known or is threatened by further spying. You would think that's already a threat. You got alien spaceships and Chinese drones checking out this, vehicle of unknown origin, right? Exotic vehicle. That's not a threat enough. You're not going to move it, right? And it's public. It's being talked about all over the place, right? What? And they're going to move it to another spot at PAX River? Guys, let's just move it down to Hangar 3. They'll never see it there. What are we talking about? Right? Let's continue on, because more unnamed sources, anonymous sources, are spreading this. And let's not forget the facts here, right? This Navy Air Base allegedly has this alien spacecraft. They've reverse engineered technologies from it. Okay, let's keep that in mind, right? And Chinese drones and other aliens have come to spy on it, and they'll move it if it becomes, too much of a threat. Although the claims cannot be confirmed by the Daily Mail, no shit, Sherlock. UFO whistleblower Luis Elizondo stated in written testimony to Congress that a specially built hangar was constructed at PAX River specifically for the transfer of extraterrestrial technology. Oh, well, that's reassuring. Under oath, Elizondo described a plan where this hangar would help major defense contractor Lockheed Martin move non-human technology to another company called Bigelow Aerospace for further study and analysis. There it is. You see, this is just a repackaged story, right? This story has been out there a long time. Allegedly, in the early 2000s, Bigelow Aerospace got funding, from the Pentagon, I think for about $22 million, somewhere around there, with a program called OSAP. And the whole point was to study this craft that they were going to get from Lockheed Martin, right? We're going to get this craft from Lockheed Martin and study this. And they allegedly built a specific building for this in Las Vegas. This is just the same story. And allegedly it got blocked by the CIA.
The one name I do want to bring up in this session, though, is Robert Bigelow. So looking into the idea of crash retrievals and reverse engineering, while OSAP, that program, was active, the DIA's contractor, Robert Bigelow of Las Vegas, made a bold attempt to acquire physical proof of UFO crashes. It's been widely reported and suspected that Lockheed Martin is one of the contractors, the defense contractors, that has held this stuff, stored it away in secrecy, and tried to figure out how it works. I have confirmed on the record that Robert Bigelow and a trusted colleague from OSAP met with and negotiated with senior executives at Lockheed Martin and hammered out a deal wherein Bigelow's company, Bass, would receive a quantity of unusual material that had been stashed away and protected at a facility in California. That material was not made here.
George Knapp even named someone at the hearing, when he testified back in September of 2025, Glenn Gaffney as being the guy.
I have a name for you.
Go ahead.
Glenn Gaffney, CIA.
Glenn Gaffney, CIA.
Right. Allegedly, he was the guy that blocked this. So that's interesting, right? So again, this is just an old story that's being repackaged again. But unless you know that story, you're like, wait, what's going on? So again, all of this is about OSAP again, essentially. And remember, OSAP was what the 2017 New York Times article should have been about. But instead, they made it about Luis Elizondo and ATIP. And George Knapp has been very vocal how they got that wrong. That article was wrong. And how they got Age of Disclosure wrong. I've made videos about all of this.
And I don't want to be a turd in the punch bowl or rain on the parade of the movie, because it's a great movie and it is important. But that is a pretty glaring omission. And I was glad to see Lou Elizondo and Jay Stratton on the same stage, even if they weren't being entirely truthful. But if you're making a movie and you're calling for disclosure and honesty, and we want to know the truth, tell us the truth, we can handle the truth, we want transparency, you got to live up to that standard too. And OSAP got the $22 million. That's the money that Reed got for it. ATIP came later. It grew out of it. It did not have a budget that we know of. Lou Elizondo and Jay Stratton were involved in it, but they have had very vigorous, I'll put it that way, vigorous disagreements about what program did what and who was in charge of what, that they have expressed for a number of years. The fact that they've come together and found some common ground that both are able to agree on for purposes of the movie is probably a good thing. Having the movie out without a bunch of internal squabbles is good. But eventually, Jay's going to have his book come out. I think it's still wrapped up in the Dopser process. And I don't think it's going to toe to the line of the sequence of events that we heard in the movie. I just don't. And because they aren't. And the people who were involved directly with OSAP, who are here in Las Vegas, are not likely to come forward and raise a stink about it. They're just not. But I can tell you, they watched this and they were pretty upset about it.
Okay, so we've done right for, your friends that actually ran OSAP and did all that work. It's got to feel like they're a little bit robbed, not having that told, that part of the story.
So now let's bring in Luis Elizondo into the story, because they've mentioned him in the article as being someone who's testified about it. Well, he sort of testified about it. You may be wondering, I don't remember him saying anything about this at the hearing. Well, that's because at the end of every hearing, they say this.
Thank you, Mr. Ogles. And with that and without objection, all members will have 5 legislative days within which to submit materials and to submit additional written questions for the witnesses, which will be forwarded to the witnesses for their response. If there's no further business without objection, the subcommittee stands adjourned.
You see, Congress people are allowed to submit questions in written form to these witnesses, and then the witnesses can write back, right? A lot of this stuff normally gets lost in the mix because we're just focused on the hearing. But this is where Luis Elizondo brought it up, and this is what he said. The question is asked, can you confirm or deny the attempt to transfer non-human technology to Bigelow Aerospace from Lockheed Martin during your time at ATIP? Yes, I can confirm that specific facilities were identified to enable Bigelow Aerospace to acquire and securely store recovered UAP materials as the new custodian, following their transfer from Lockheed Martin. Now, hang on a second. Here, the term UAP materials, right? So is it a UFO or is it part of a UFO? What are we talking about, right? I thought it was a vehicle of exotic origin or whatever. These facilities included locations in the Las Vegas area and a newly built hangar at the Patuxent River Naval Air Station, PAX. Specifically, the PAX River hangar was designed to facilitate the transfer of future materials via air and river. The hangar was purpose-built to meet the requirements of a special access program facility and was capable of accommodating materials at any classification level. I was informed that funding for the hangar, approximately $10 million, was allocated at the request of then Representative Steny Hoyer. I have visited this facility. However, as it was a new construction at the time, no materials had yet been transferred. How convenient. And maybe this is where the rumor that Dr. Stephen Greer was out spreading, that allegedly Danny Sheehan told him that Luis Elizondo had been in the vicinity of a hangar or a warehouse that had a UFO in it.
Now, Daniel Sheehan has also shared, and this is even more explosive, that Luis Elizondo has informed him that he, in fact, has been in a facility where an actual extraterrestrial vehicle was stored.
And I think this is what they're talking about here, essentially, right? And Luis Elizondo is saying, I went to this hangar it wasn't ready yet. So they didn't have a UFO there. Wait, what? Why would Luis Elizondo go there during this time, right? He wasn't even part of ATIP yet, or OSAP. So what are we talking about? This doesn't make sense. The timelines don't add up. And again, UAP materials, right? That's what all of OSAP was about, right? And this was in the mid-2000s, right? And again, Dr. Eric Davis has stated that James Lukatsky, went into this UFO and there was nothing, no controls, no nothing, what are they reverse engineering?
People have talked about the story of alien reproduction vehicles, ARVs, and there are none. There never have been because we haven't been able to figure out their technology. The physics engineering and the manufacturing technology doesn't exist at this time. We're just barely scratching quantum materials now and how to create programmable quantum materials. Jim Lukatsky describes in his recent book of a year or two ago of how he was able to see an intact craft and go inside of it, and he couldn't recognize any kind of power propulsion system inside of it.
And Dr. Eric Davis has stated that we haven't reverse engineered anything, and in fact, they gave up on this.
All I do know is I was given a firm, hey, in 1989, the CIA shut it all down because us, and we know the other companies that we had been found out from our customer didn't make any progress after several decades of investigating. There was no progress made. So I said, so what's the story about Northrop Grumman having an ARV or somebody out at Area 51 having an ARV? And he said, oh, that's all myth.
Right? Because otherwise you would see, we would be using the technology. The government would be using this technology.
I mean, if it was for real, we would see a dramatic change in the balance of power.
Again, none of this makes sense. I feel like I have to point out the same things every single video, right? Now, maybe there was something transfer. I don't know. Something got blocked. I don't know, but I'm having a hard time believing it at this point. But this is just the same story from OSAP repackaged, right? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, right? This is the same thing, right? And Luis Elizondo even tweeted this story out, like, yeah, see? What? It's like, and why hasn't Luis Elizondo talked about this? In interviews, I looked, never mentioned. And why did he bring it up in his testimony, right? Why didn't he call this out? Because he knew it would be an answer that kind of get lost, right? I mean, again, what are we talking about, man? And this is the same Luis Elizondo that's been sharing fake UFO photos. There was that photo that he claimed of a mothership that pilots had told him about, and then it turns out it literally was the reflection of a chandelier in a window at an apartment building. He claimed it was at an embassy, right? Busted. Then he had the river at the famous Disclosure Fund event in DC, right? With Congress sitting there, and he shows up a photo that he said he got that morning, right? And decided to share it from a pilot. And then guess what it turns out to be? Irrigation circles, and the internet figured out in 2 seconds. So the world's most UFO expert, okay, doesn't even vet these pictures and just shows it. That's the best he's got. I mean, he just keeps showing fake photo after fake photo. And there's more. There's more fake stuff. He showed fake photo about the DC landing. Turned out to be from the DC flap that happened in like the 50s. That turned out to be like a CGI from like a movie. Then he had that picture he was floating around about like alien. It turned out to be an aborted baby. Yeah. I mean, there's just so much, like, what are we doing here? You know what I mean? Why are we still listening to Luis Elizondo, right? And now he's got a new book coming out that is literally categorized as fantasy fiction, right? And again, why hasn't he told this story before? And how does the timelines match up? How did he go to this warehouse? There was no UFO, but allegedly they were what? Right? Going to transfer it to OSAP when he wasn't even part of OSAP. He came later. So it doesn't make sense. And they have it at PAX River. Then they're going to build a separate hangar to move the UFO to that hangar so they can then transfer it. So they can't transfer it from the original hangar? Tell me how that makes sense, right? I don't understand. But let's just say that that's true. Again, how did the timelines match up? How did Luis Elizondo go to this hangar? Okay, there is no UFO in it because under new construction, yet it's during the OSAP time before he was ever even allegedly involved with UFOs. And that's according to his book, Eminent. Again, none of this makes sense or adds up. And don't forget, Luis Elizondo is no UFO expert. He's always stated he's just a scientist.
This topic already has a lot of stigma associated with it. I've already been called a conspiracy theorist, even though I'm not. You know, I'm a scientist. My background is science.
He's a scientist? What? I think that got overlooked by a lot of people. Yeah, got Luis Elizondo saying he's a scientist now, right? What? And then the article, the Daily Mail, also brings up Hal Puthoff and some comments he made on Joe Rogan.
How many of these crashed crafts do you estimate there are that human beings have recovered?
More than 10.
More than 10?
More than 10.
How many of them are in possession of people in the United States?
I meant more than 10 in possession of the United States.
What about worldwide?
Worldwide?
Do we have any data on that?
We have data, but it's classified. There's no way to really talk about it.
So we got 10 craft, okay? And then Joe's like, well, what about other world? Well, I can't talk about that. It's classified. But you can talk about the number of craft that America has, and that's not classified. Again, make this make sense. I'm not very smart, so it's probably me. All right, y'all. I'm totally confused by this, to be honest with you. It really, when you really dive into this story, it makes me think one of two things. Luis Elizondo is lying. Strong possibility. Okay. And number two, Luis Elizondo is lying. Because the original story could be true. It's just Luis Elizondo's involvement in it sounds like BS. So maybe there is something at PAX River, and the whole OSEP thing and, you know, Lockheed Martin blocking this transfer, right, from PAX River to Bigelow Aerospace is totally possible. But Luis Elizondo's involvement sounds total BS, right? And anytime he's mentioned exotic material, this is probably what he was talking about the whole time. But who knows? He's been involved with so many weird things, it's kind of hard to say. So I don't know, but it's making me start to question these sources that have come out to the Daily Mail and to Liberation Times, right? And that's, again, the problem with having these sort of anonymous, unnamed sources. The journalists become the mouthpiece, right? Again, why don't these journalists turn to the sources and go, why don't you come out and say it? Why do I have to put my name and reputation on the line, right? Again, we're saying Chinese drones and alien spaceships are spying on this UFO that's captured at this base, right? And then again, the red flag and contradiction of we've reverse engineered it, or we're reverse engineering parts of it. What? But you have differing stories because, again, the people involved with OSAP say you can't reverse engineer anything. And they were going to try to, but the transfer got blocked, right? So what's happening? This is confusing. Links in the description. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. We'll see you guys in the next one. Remember that every day's a gift, y'all. Peace.
Hey man, really appreciate your show. Just started the live event. Saw that I could leave a message with an experience. I'll keep this brief. All right. This is 2023 in Hermosa Beach, California. It's kind of next to LA. This is about February. All right. I'm walking on the beach at about some time between 8 and 10 p.m. Walking on the boardwalk out there. And I'm looking at the stars, man. And, you know, I'm a big fan on the subject. I'm kind of on the same page. I don't know if it's horseshit or not. I'm looking out to the stars and I'm thinking, fuck, man, I just want to see something. Like, come on, dude. I've been looking at the sky for a long time. Nothing happens. Walk back to a hostel. There's an international hostel on Hermosa Beach. I'm smoking a cigarette with a couple guys, and maybe there's a dozen people out on the beach. I'm about 150 feet from the shoreline. And I'm looking at the ocean, and then maybe 100 feet above the water or so, maybe 200 feet above the water, a giant red diamond just suddenly appears, man. Like a straight up diamond. It's got the quality of like a lava lamp. It's like plasma. It's like orange and red. This thing just appears, man. And at first I think it's a kite or something, but there's not really any wind and it's not moving. And then I notice everyone else on the beach, like a dozen people, are all pointing and screaming. This thing's fucking huge. I'm thinking like it's 100 feet by 100 feet squared, right? It's a giant red diamond. It's kind of pulsating, and I can't believe what I'm seeing, so I just run towards it to get a better view, and then the thing just suddenly disappears to a single point of nothingness. Kind of the same way Looney Tune cartoons would close out at the end of the show. It was like that, to a single point, just gone, man. And there was like a dozen folks on the beach just screaming and yelling, like, what was that? What was that? So I know I wasn't tripping or seeing things. But bro, the craziest thing about it is right after it happened, maybe like 15 seconds, maybe 30, all these folks on the beach start talking about some other shit. I guess there was a Timberwolves game going on in a bar on the boardwalk, and they're like, hey, anyways, how about those Timberwolves? And I'm just like looking around like, yo, are y'all pretending like you didn't see that right now? Anyways, man, I got a person that I was with took a picture of what we saw, but what was in the picture was not at all what any of us saw in the sky. What we all saw was a red diamond. What ended up in the fucking picture was like 3 green orbs. I'll send that shit to you if you want to see it. I mean, it just looks like 3 green orbs. It's not that interesting, and it's not what I saw. But anyways, bro, love your show. Keep it up.